Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kantara Kantanamastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangira De Vrindavaneshwari Vrishamana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyam Vanchakalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaya Vacha Patitanam Pavadebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaham. So this seems very short verse. So can anyone recollect anything from last session? How you say session in Hindi? Sarti, something. Session. How you say session in Hindi? Huh? Hindi session. How do you say session? Previous session. Satra, see? Satara. It's easier to remember. Satra. Okay. Anything from number three? What was that last time we were discussing? For one who is a neophyte in Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of material activity is said to be the means. So that was quite an interesting verse, because to achieve certain advanced position in the spiritual practice, how one has to practice. Mataji, Hare Krishna. Why we took this whole day? I should have gone to Chakra next time. Sagar. So work is very essential, because one has to be engaged. It's like, can we cease the work? We discussed, right? You can't just say, I'm renouncing everything and I'm very spiritual. Can anyone do that? Can you just say, okay, I'm giving everything up. I'm walking out of my home and that's it. I'm not going back. I'm not doing any more anything what I used to do. You don't have to wear this. You can relax. It's much easier, And it's not easy, it's very difficult. So then one gradually learns how to become detached by engaging whatever activities he performs, somehow connecting it spiritually, somehow connecting it to God. So that's the way of practicing yoga. And then it said one who is already advanced, he is ceasing to perform. Ceasing means he's giving up. To perform material activities, So basically, it's not a big difference. I know it sounds confusing. Let's say you begin a spiritual life, and then you still have to work, but then that work has to be in connection to Krishna. And then when you are advanced, then you completely stop performing material activities. So what does that mean? Sit a little bit there, why are you so clustered, Come a little closer. A little closer, otherwise I have to shout. So, what was the trick that we discussed last time of the spiritual practice? Slowly renounce. I'm laughing something else there. The point is, whatever one does, one should not give up if it's in connection to Krishna. And if it's not in connection to Krishna, connect it to Krishna. No, whatever you do, whatever you yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yadjuhoshi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi, konte mat kushva tadarpanam. Whatever one does, eats, offers, gives away, whatever it might be, should be doing it for God, for Krishna. So in the beginning, that's the process. Actually, at the end, that's also the process. So that's why it's so confusing. Then how come the same thing? In the beginning, at the end, it's the same thing. One should not cease activity. But activity is not for oneself, but activity is for Krishna. So one works, first of all, one thinks, oh, I have to do that. Yeah, that's the conception of the neophytes, of those who are in the beginning. And then later on, one realizes, I don't have to do it, but still I'm doing it for Krishna. That's the consciousness. That's when one is advanced in yoga practice, he ceases to perform material activities, but he performs spiritual activities. Because those same activities which used to be material, aimed at ourselves, are now the spiritual activities, because we have connected them to Krishna. You're eating, simple, every day. But you don't eat for just yourself, just for sake of tongue or maintenance of the body, but you eat prasadam, you honor prasadam. You don't eat anymore, you honor. It's a big difference. There is that saying, then one doesn't live to eat, one eats to live. Is that difficult? It says, but eating process is there, no? You don't stop eating. So one doesn't stop performing material activities. One performs them for Krishna. That's advanced spiritual platform. So anyway, we discussed that last time. Any other point last time anybody wants to bring up? Anybody can remember? Nobody's making any notes. It'll be good to make notes. Like I said, we're gonna have tests on that as well. Making some notes. This is study class. It's not so easy. It's not just you're all sitting and I'm just, producing some sounds here and we maybe grasp something. It's supposed to be a study class. That we note down some points. Know how many times? Okay, now we can close this one. They're making too much sound. Yeah, just close that. Okay, so next Thursday. Next Thursday, I think we can have a little test. You ready? So you have to get ready for the test. It's not that nobody comes then. That's the point. Chapter 5. You have to study chapter 5. Bhagavad Gita. What is the difficulty? Studying Bhagavad Gita a little bit. Chapter 5 doesn't have so many verses. And all the commentaries of the acharyas. Next Thursday. Okay, anyway. So we are reading today, this is text number 4. Yada hi nendriyarteshu na karmavs anusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudastadochyate. So translation, and later we'll read the purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So he said a person is said to be elevated in yoga. Maybe Sajan, Haribol, Sajan, see, maybe we can close that door also. A lot of sound coming also from this side. See, now it's better. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when having renounced all material desires. He neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. So that's why. So one doesn't act for himself. One doesn't act for himself, but still he acts. Yeah. So having renounced all the material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification or engages in fruitive activities. It's because the same thing. What means engagement in fruitive activities? That means artha. No, that means artha. Then when we say what means sense gratification, that means kama. So artha and kama. So when one is advanced in the yoga practice, in the yoga system, he does not get involved in this. He doesn't get entangled with any of those kind of activities. He's not interested, first of all. He has a higher taste, he is far better situated, and he has nothing to do with any of these involvements in artha and kama. He just fully acts for pleasure of Krishna. Okay, so let's read the commentaries. Actually, that's what I said. Can we make this? See, before we had such a nice thing going on. Dynamic, active process of already. Yeah, but not by just reading, but also by, representing the summary. Okay, now.
Commentary by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This verse speaks of the characteristics of the person who has attained steady meditation. Yoga Rudha, one who has a complete pure heart. He is not attached either to the sense objects such as sounds, nor to actions for attaining enjoyment of the objects of the senses. Karmasu. So this commentary is trying to say that the one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness, basically, is not attached to the material senses.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
That's all. You have some personal experience.
Like there are times like when we go for yatras, because of the potency of that place, our minds get totally fixed in devotional service, Krishna consciousness, like chanting and getting in association, continuously hearing. And when we try to chant focusedly, when we do seva continuously, our minds get steady, our mind gets fixed and situated. It does go out of the balance, but when we try a little harder, we can keep our mind steady and focused in Krishna consciousness, and we can gradually elevate further towards self-realization. That's what I get.
Okay. Ramanujacharya. Give him the text. That's it.
When this yogin, because of his natural disposition to the experience, of the self, loses attachment, gets detached from the sense objects, things other than the self and actions associated with them, then he has abandoned all desires and is said to have climbed the heights of yoga. Therefore, for one wishing to climb yoga, but it is still deposit to the experience of the sense objects, karma yoga, consisting of practice of detachment to these objects, becomes the cause of success in yoga. Therefore, one who wishes to climb yoga must perform karma yoga, consisting in the practice of detachment from sense objects. Sri Krishna further elucidates the same.
Any comment?
Yeah, so we should detach from these objects. And like sense objects. And the process of getting detached from them will bring us success in yoga.
Okay. He was sitting here. Okay, any personal experience? You have some personal experience?
No.
No? See, he said, one who wishes to climb to yoga must perform karma yoga. Practice detachment from sense objects. So how you practicing karma yoga?
Karma yoga and doing our material things, but doing it as a service for Krishna.
Okay, who's next? Sridhar-san. Okay, Sajjan. Huh? Madhvacharya's appearances today. Why do you want to take one?
Okay, and then I will not read. I will then like I should. I don't like that.
No, hey.
Copy that. He's still in 19th century.
Okay. Sridhar Swami commentary. What qualifies a person to be qualified for sannyasa or renunciation is abnegation for whom a cessation of activities is prescribed. Lord Krishna explains that when one is no longer enamored by the pleasure of the senses and sense objects, and is also not even attracted to performing the action which are the means to obtain them. Such a person is qualified for Dhyana Yoga or the science of the individual consciousness, attaining communion with the ultimate consciousness by meditation. This is because one must develop the renunciation habitually until the drops of desire is eradicated, along with not the slightest inclination to perform any activity that will lead to enjoyment of sense object and the opportunity for sense gratification completely. Neutralizing all desire, then a person is known to be have factually attained Dhyana Yoga. So compared to the senses and sense object, right, one should renounce it, right? Then he's eligible to perform the Dhyana Yoga fully, right? Sridhar Swami is stating here. Right. Once the slightest drop of desire, it can be danger for them, right? On this path. Right. So like this.
Okay. Srila Madhvacharya. So now you have to speak few pastimes of Madhvacharya. If you want to read Madhvacharya, you have to mention few pastimes. Today is his appearance. Disappearance. See, you have to say more.
Can I prepare it for the next lesson?
No.
I did not read. So sorry.
But then how? How you can?
I read commentary by Sri Madhvacharya. In this verse, Lord Krishna tells the signs of one who has established themselves in equanimity of mind. For such a person, there is absolute detachment because there is no desire for results. If one is devoted to the Supreme Lord, then all imperfections dissolve on their own. If one is not devoted, then they are eradicated by special efforts. Now begins the summation. How does one become detached from one's action? The answer is to renounce the desire for the rewards of actions, or if one is devoted to the Supreme Lord, to offer all the rewards to Him. By acting in either of these ways, one is considered performing renunciation for the Supreme Lord. I think this is it's very self-explanatory. No,
it's not.
Yeah, it's if you see the previous verses, and it's been suggested that we should take step by step, and that's why Krishna starts telling like karma yoga, because Krishna knows like it's not easy for living entities to not act upon them, and or like maybe not desire something, because like the desire is the reason why we are in the material world. And so we can say like it's given, the process is given step by step, and now we have reached to the step where it's completely understood, because like 5,000 years back Arjuna asked Krishna that like how do I control my mind. So controlling mind is not something very easy, especially in today's time when we are consuming so much information and we have been bombarded by so many desirous things. So this is one of the process which is like how in the beginning Prabhupada said it's a mechanical process, but this can also work, because in the previous verse it's mentioned that like on the neophyte level people should start practicing, like so there is something, the term called reverse engineering. So like something is already happening and then like you try to put try to reverse the mechanism. So if somebody sits at one place and like he's not been exposed to lots of information, then he can try to control his mind. And of course then there are like the highest is of course bhakti. Yeah, I forgot the Rishi's story who went inside the water to avoid all the distractions, and then he saw two fishes. But like but the point is like for the neophyte level, it's this can be helpful. And in the beginning, like this used to happen with me, like so like in the beginning, like I used to find it very difficult either to like now also find it very difficult to love Krishna, or like accept his authority, his orders. So like I just used to tell myself like, okay, like how about like this is we are doing this exercise just to control the mind, and like this is how I started chanting. And later I was really
You lose your specs, right?
so after so this is what has been mentioned in Jnana Yoga, that like we should start the process even if it is mechanical. We can start and gradually grow to Bhakti Yoga by the mercy of Guru.
Okay, some story of Madhvacharya.
Prabhuji, I know one. I don't know.
No,
I should have read it, like, but I did not. I'm sorry. The next time I will read.
Remember something? Okay, come. Yeah. Tell me. When Madhvacharya was small, so many pastimes.
Please tell me.
Actually, today we are hearing pastimes of Madhvacharya in temple hall, right? His Grace Krishna Bhajan Prabhu was studying so nicely, right? So one of them, I'm telling you that Madhvacharya is a so small boy, right? And he's amazing with his divine activities. Even his father and mother was amazed when he saw many things, right, doing like this. So in his childhood, right, one of the story we heard today, that his mother and father was, borrowed some money with some Mahajan, right? And on that day, actually they are fully Brahmana, so Brahmana is generally the poor, right? So that Mahajan came to his house and just, stated that I will take my borrow money, otherwise I will not go here and I will do ansan like this. So his younger child, Madhvacharya, his name was the Vasudev in the childhood. So he just saw his mother and father just little worried, right? And he asked what is the reason behind it. And his mother disclosed it that that person who has come here to take their money back, right? And we are not able to know that. So he took something, right? Some seeds of some fruits or vegetables, and right. Tamarind seeds. Imli, right, and just he gave to his that person and see, and he found that it turned into gold coins, right, and he became happy that I returned my all the money today, right. So he did, and so he broke the answer an idea to stay over there, and thus their mother and father will become amazed that this little child from where it take this money, even the gold coins. So there are many kinds of pastimes he has, right? Later, after 10 years, right, he took sannyasa, and he went to the Gurukula, and his spiritual master, even at that time, he was very, Chitta Pariksha, he was very influenced by the Mayavadi teachings, right? And
there was no any other teaching.
Right, on that times, right? So he that times, right, he was very much influenced Mayavad, but he tried to just cut all the points by his on his strength, on commentary, right, and on wisdom. So even his teacher was very amazed by this little student. He has come to me to understand the scriptures, Vedanta Sutra, but even then I need to learn from him. So he was very brilliant, right? And later he took up sannyasa at the age of 10, and when all the followers of that student, right, along with his teachers, right, took his shelter later, right? So like this, and he preached, and he just destroyed the influence of Mayavadi at that time, right? And later once we were hearing that he was traveling to toward Badrinath along with his disciples, right? So when he crossed his he was crossing Maharashtra. So Maharashtra, there was a king, right? And he was very very cruel, like, right? He used to just engage people, right? He was just digging one lake, and whenever he see, right, whoever the person is crossing by him, right, he used to just catch him and he engage him in the digging business, right? So Madhvacharya was quite stout and tall, right, along with his student, right? The king caught him and engaged him in digging business, right? But Madhvacharya said in reply to him that I'm such a Brahmana, right? I have some disciples, so I know I cannot do this, right? But first, if you can teach me, then I will do this, right? So how to dig the pit, I don't know, right? Please show me. Then king became very influenced, and he just took one fowler and he was doing like, right, and he just forgot that I have to, right, I'm just displaying that how to do this, right, and he just keep on doing, and Madhvacharya went away from that place, right, and when he just crossed it's like Jharkhand and Bihar, like, and the Ganga river, and the Ganga is very much flows, right, on that side. The Muslim rulers, they were very much influenced that no Brahmana and no Sanatan followers can do this performance and all the things. Whenever they see that person, right, the Brahmanical culture, Sanatan Dharma, right, they are following, they want to just try to convert them into the Muslim religion and to follow them forcefully. But even then, because Madhvacharya was going to meet with Vyasdeva and Narnayan Muni in right, Adibadri, right? So he has to cross the river, but what he did, the Ganga river is flowing, and he just made a chain along with his disciple, and just he stated to everyone that to hold my hands, and one by one just hold each other, right? And just he crossed over the water, just like we walk on the land like this. So and he crossed easily, right? Because he was the incarnation of Vayu. So he had many more strange.
He killed the tiger.
Yeah, they killed the tiger once, but they were crossing some forest place, right? And one of his disciples, I think he was performing some Dhyana yoga or something like this. So one tiger in a solitary place attacked him, and he just begging mercy, "Oh my spiritual master, please save me from this tiger." And once jump, he appeared to the place, and just he did one punch on the tiger face, and tiger just left his body now on the spot. Right. So he was very powerful, right?
He was so powerful that when he was a kid,
And
his
even
mother told him, the milk is boiling, put some dakar. And he couldn't find anything, so he found a big rock and he just... So they were wondering, how could you lead to such a big rock?
Madhvacharya used to serve Lord, right, since immortal time, right, in Satyuga, in Tarita Yuga, in Dwapara also, right. In Tarita Yuga, he came as a Hanuman, and in Dwapara, he came as a Bhima, right, one of the Pandava, right.
How he wrote the commentary on Vedanta Sutra? How he wrote the commentary?
Vedanta Sutra, he just Vedanta Bhasya he wrote, right, and he was writing, and he went to the Adibadri to seek blessing of Vyasadeva, because he was performing there, right, and Narayan Muni also there, right. So what we see in Badrinath, right, it is in material platform, but Adibadri it is not in material plan, right, it is in spiritual plan, right. So he was going along with their disciples, but disciples were waiting on that plane, and he just went away, right. He took blessings, right, to check out whether I'm just doing correct or not, right. So in this way he wrote, I think, more detail you can elaborate, I think. Right. Correct.
So last time, another child. Something about Madhvacharya today's disappearance.
Not prepared for this.
Okay, give to Keshav, please.
Sri Keshav Kashmiri coming. If one wants to understand exactly when performing karma yoga or prescribed Vedic activities transform itself to the heights of Dhyan yoga or the science of the individual soul, attaining communion. What is this mean? Communion with the ultimate soul by meditation is now revealed. Lord Krishna speaks the words na karmasi anusajjate, meaning when one no longer craves or is inclined to make any efforts for sense object, such a person thinks, why should I strive to obtain pleasure which are here today and gone tomorrow, being only temporary? Then with constant endeavor, one ceases to look for opportunities to facilitate favorable circumstances, to enjoy sensual pleasures, and eventually evaporates all thoughts of enjoying sense object, along with dissolving the memories of previous enjoyment. Only such a being is considered to be firmly established in yoga or the science of the individual soul, attaining communion with the ultimate consciousness. I have to read it again then, because I didn't.
Okay, what's the question?
Could you please put some light on then? With constant endeavor, one ceases to look for opportunities to facilitate favorable circumstances, to enjoy sensual pleasure, and eventually evaporates all thoughts of enjoying sense objects, along with dissolving the memories of previous enjoyments. At times, like we hear that the impressions get stronger, and now here, like we hear that, like after enjoyment, if the desire to enjoy will fade away, and then the memory will also fade away. And
memory fades away. That's natural. No?
But we also hear that there are like we have so many impressions on our soul, and that's what is making because.
But if we don't cultivate them anymore, and then we impress positive impressions, right? Then those are the ones which prevail, right? So we
here it says in the line that like after enjoying,
okay,
they see endurance opportunity to facilitate favorable circumstances to enjoy sensual pleasures, and eventually evaporate all thoughts.
But that's what I'm saying. You're impressing new impressions which are in connection to Krishna, right? You're performing all kinds of activities, but it's not for your personal gratification. It's for pleasure of Krishna. So that's why then those impressions become very prominent, and all the other ones cease away. It's like the example. It's always you have a clay. You make an impression, like a kid's play, right? They make all kinds of things with the clay, or it's, and then you can make so many impressions, but you make a deeper impression, then whatever was the smaller impression gets pushed out. So like this, you make a deeper impression of Krishna consciousness, and all the previous impressions just practically vanish. Understand? So that's why we have so many festivals. That's why we have so many different programs. That's why we have so many things going on. No? Why? So that we create positive impressions, which will overrule or all the other previous impressions. No? Okay. So that's why here the whole verse is all about performing activities which are in connection to Krishna consciousness. Okay, anything interesting by Adi Shankaracharya? Mostly it's just a definition of the words. Okay, when one is thus established in yoga, then by that very fact of oneself becomes uplifted by oneself from the worldly state which is replete with evils, which is replete with anarthas. So once one is connected to Krishna, which means yoga, then one is free from all the anarthas, all the bounding principles. Okay, here we reach Srila Prabhupada's commentary as a conclusion. It says, when a person is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is pleased in himself, and thus he is no longer engaged in sense gratification of fruitive activities. Like Prabhupada would say, devotees don't go to cinema, right? Devotees don't have to go to restaurants. They don't have to, of course, if it's not Govindas or something, that's a different thing, but even that is not. You don't have to get involved in all this because we have such a nice other things that are in connection to Krishna. So otherwise one must be engaged in sense gratification, since one cannot live without engagement. Without Krishna consciousness, one must be always seeking self-centered or extended selfish activities. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. One who has no such realization must mechanically try to escape material desires before being elevated to the top rung of the yoga ladder. Yeah. So that becomes very difficult actually, to elevate oneself artificially without, by mechanical means, it becomes very difficult. If one doesn't have realization, if one doesn't have taste, you may say one may elevate oneself, one may jump, but one will be forced to step down, right, or fall down. So that's not the best option. One may try to escape. Let's say, can you just say no material involvement, no material desires, no material thoughts? Is that easy? Very difficult. It's extremely difficult. And that actually is the process of impersonal practice. That is what Krishna explains to Arjuna in 12th chapter. He says it's very difficult. Kleshadi karastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta higatir dukham dehavabdiravapyate. Very difficult. To just cease being involved of one's senses with the sense objects. It's just very difficult. But if one engages in devotional service, it's so much more easier. Then senses become connected, and engaged in Krishna's service. And it becomes much, much, much easier. Okay, any final comments or questions on this verse? And yeah, maybe seriously, most of you who are online, we could try to plan to come maybe next Thursday. Let's try to have a little test.
The fifth chapter?
Fifth chapter, last chapter. Because that's what we didn't do, and that's where we learned the most actually. Right? Then you learn, then you're somewhat forced to learn. Okay, if there are no any questions, then we'll stop here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
I have one question. Actually, this is yoga ladder kind of thing is given in Bhagavad Gita, in that one yoga higher than another, and then ultimately Bhakti yoga. But here, the kind of standard that has been talked about is kind of, full Krishna consciousness. And we have not yet reached Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti yoga.
So yoga means Krishna consciousness. If it's just karma, if it's just jnana, then it's not yoga. But whenever karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, that's called Krishna consciousness.
So that
Krishna consciousness.
Yes, that points to Bhakti yoga only, wherever.
Yes, that is all Bhakti.
It's not one of the steps on the ladder.
No, it's not. It's just a certain feature of Bhakti. Yeah?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Gaur.
Thank